Hello, my name is Hannah Wiesler, and I am doing this for my mock course. This is about teaching during COVID. I wanted to explore the new procedures, the new tactics that we're using to teach during this very unprecedented time. And I wanted to take that from the perspective of our teachers and of our language assistants. And so I've kind of merged those two things into this video.
At the beginning, we thought that this was just for 2 weeks, but we realized that there were 4 more time, and it was really hard. It was extremely hard. If, for example, in my case, I taught them English, and imagine, I had to work with them just in a written way. We didn't use any oral things. Mm-hmm. We didn't exchange information in an oral way.
Right.
They didn't do any listenings, and there were families that they didn't have anything. No computers, no tablets, no nothing. So it was really, really hard.
I think that's really forced teachers to learn how to use technology differently and make things maybe more accessible for work to be done at home or online. Well, as also, I think that it's really affected maybe in class as well, because we're not really doing as many games or projects as we would normally do, because that requires a lot of hands-on things, and we don't want kids sitting too close to each other or touching the same things, and after every time you use a table you have to wipe it. So it's really affected the ability for things to be hands-on.
I think that COVID and this situation of a global pandemic has really shaken our education system down to the core. And I think it makes us reanalyze and rethink what is it that makes a good educational system? What is that base that we have or we need to have that makes an educational system function in terms of the best thing for the students, the best things for the teacher, not the best things for the politics or the politicians.
Do you think that the school system in general is doing well with supporting teachers in where students may be falling behind? Like, is there leeway to where they're saying it's okay if students are falling behind, we'll keep working it? Or is it kind of like
I think
figure it out?
It's a matter of each school decides.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Madrid there is a law that guarantees school's autonomy.
Oh.
And that school's autonomy makes that every school makes their own decisions, and we don't have a unique line of work. So some schools have decided to see all the contents that they didn't see last course. Mm-hmm. Others, like ours, decide to combine the contents and try to be updated as soon as possible. So I think it's a matter of schools and management teams and teachers.
Yeah.
I want to be able to go help the individual students that are having trouble, but again, I don't want to feed into that anxiety. I don't want to create anxiety for the students. And a lot of times the best way for me to control a classroom is to walk among the students, see who's doing well, see who isn't. And that's something that I have to weigh very carefully when I'm doing it. Like, I feel like so much of what I do becomes a risk versus reward calculation. Is it worth it to have these children work in groups? Is it worth it to have them interacting with the same item when I plan lessons? Like, how can I mitigate the number of students that are coming in contact with things? How often do I need to clean the table they're working at? How often do I need to clean the markers they're working with? Can I have them roll a die, or is that too much contact with each other? So it impacts a lot of, like, am I able to have them work in groups at all? It makes me think about using the methods that are most known as being helpful for learning a language, which is group work, and how that's much more risky now than it's ever been before.
Generally, at those levels, first, second grade, we have several stations in the class, library in one corner, game station, and this year unfortunately we can have them, so the students have to be seated on the chairs, and they are used to play when they finish the task. They are used to take a book to read when they finish, and this year that's not possible. And apart from that, I think that the students learn much better when they learn one from another, with inter-student learning. And unfortunately, as this year they have to be all the time in their seat.
I am a very tactile teacher, and so I want to be, touching the things and touching the people and, tap on the shoulder, what are you doing? Or how are you, and I can't do that. And so for me, being a very tactile person in general, I have to completely change how I teach or how I interact with students and even other teachers. And obviously going through COVID in life in general, that has changed. And so it's a little easier coming into the classroom and saying, okay, I have to, put my shield up, if you will.
Well, I've been using more technologies that I didn't use before. For instance, they are used to work with a web page that is called Live Worksheets, and it's a web page that they can use also on the mobile phones. They don't need a laptop or a computer or a tablet. So it is easier that all of them have a mobile phone. And also we use Google Classroom to communicate with all of them. And we've been teaching them how to send an appropriate email, because sometimes we saw that many students wrote the body of the message in the gap that you have for the asunto, or matter, no? I think it's in English. So we have to be teaching them how to use properly the technologies.
Actually, some of them that used to be lost because they are nervous, or it's more difficult to them to focus on the activity, this year are improving, because this year there are less disruptions,
In some ways, it's on the education system, on the teachers, to make sure to pay attention to students, especially those students that are just joining the education system again, and the students in the coming years after people are back in school, after a vaccine has been circulated. We're going to have to pay extra close attention to the students that were, in quarantine, that were on online courses, because some of them have fallen behind, and it is what we do now and what we do over the next 2 years that is going to determine whether they can recover from that or not.
This year, when they were off of school pretty much for the entire end of the year, I know that the students were not speaking nearly as much English or getting the English practice that they need. And I was talking with one of the teachers here, and she was saying that once you graduate from primary school and go to the next, it's a lot of English, and if you are falling behind in the English level, then you're going to fall behind in the curriculum as a whole, which causes problems, because it's not that they're intellectually falling behind, it's all language based. So it's important to be able to give the students the necessary help that they need in order to catch up and learn in the subjects that are in English as well as Spanish.
I think that when we think about the situation of a global pandemic, it is unprecedented. It is something that we've never experienced before. The education system has never experienced it before. These kids it's just completely something that nobody could have seen coming, right? And I think to put that stress and to put that emphasis on teachers and on students that you're falling behind, you need to keep up, you need to, and as a teacher, you think, oh my God, like it's my responsibility to keep these kids up to date. Because if not, this education system, this goes back to the first question, the education system does not allow that. It doesn't allow students to fall behind and be able to function well in society under that pretense. And so I think with this situation, we need to take a step back, and the politics behind it needs to take a step back and re-examine how we're going to move forward in the system. Because I think everyone globally is going through this, globally is going to be behind. Me as a teacher, I feel behind, not only in teaching, but also in my personal life, in my, I can do X, X, and X each day, but I used to be able to do, 10 of those things. And so I think when we're trying to move forward out of this, we should take all that into account and figure out a way that that's okay. That it's okay to be behind, and it's okay to, that all of us are really stressed and we're under a lot of pressure and anxiety, and we need to be okay with that and be able to move forward in a positive way that says we learned so much from that. We're behind a little bit, but that's okay, and we're gonna get there, and we need a good system to where we can all still, those kids can still graduate, those kids can still move forward in a positive manner.
But all in all, I think it's pretty cool how we've made it work, and how the kids are being so great and understanding of protocols and sanitizing and keeping distance, and the teachers as well. And
teachers will realize we need to have better emergency procedures. We need to have better procedures for students that can't be in class every day. Mm-hmm. There are ways to continue education and continue growth and learning despite not being in the classroom. And so I hope that out of this becomes a flexibility in education that we haven't had before, and hopefully that will help students in abnormal situations so that we can equalize things a little more.
I think that our job is not to work from our house. Mm-hmm. No. This is a work that you have to work with kids. Mm-hmm. They need you and you need them. You have to look at their faces. You have to stay with them, hug them, touch them.
I've interviewed for this has said that teaching during COVID has been a challenge. It's been something, I've had a lot of them say that, I never want to do it again. And I think that again, that's a lot of the pressure on the teachers and on our language assistants too. I feel a lot of that pressure also, supporting my teachers, to keep up with the students and keep up with the, everything. And I just want to say, kudos to all of those people, all of our teachers, all of our language assistants, the people support the families, the students. For heaven's sake, they're wearing masks in school. They're sanitizing their hands. They're trying their best, and they still have this awesome positive attitude. My kids are just smiling every day. They're having fun when we can have fun. And so honestly, just kudos to everybody who's getting through this.
Support our teachers.